I'm Mike Johnson, that's my wife Allison, and our son Caden. And we just bought an 120-year-old farmhouse on 15 acres. We set this channel up so that you can follow us on our journey to renovate this property into a retreat that our family and friends can enjoy for decades to come. But I gotta warn you, there will be challenges, and this won't be easy.
And whoa, look at that.
But then again, what worth having is easy. So hit the subscribe button and we'll bring you along every step of the way. Let's go.
All right, folks, so today is going to be an interesting day. One of the first things that we're going to have to do in this renovation is test to make sure that these popcorn ceilings, which is a hideous ceiling finish that's been done in decades prior to now, does not have asbestos in it. So if you've watched TV for the past 20 years, you've probably seen commercials talking about mesothelioma and lung cancer and class action lawsuits. And that's because for a period of time, it was fairly common to use materials in ceilings, especially these popcorn ceilings that have asbestos. And they're basically fibers that, if airborne or disrupted, will become airborne, and then you can breathe them into your lungs and they can do all types of damage. And so if there are asbestos in these ceilings, right now they're perfectly safe because they're in the materials, they're not being disturbed. But before you disturb this house or this ceiling, you want to make sure that there's no asbestos in here, because we are definitely going to disturb the hell out of this house, and we don't want asbestos flying around. So we're going to have to scrape off a few samples of these ceilings, send it off to a lab, and get it tested before we do much demo, right? So I'm doing this myself. I ordered a test kit, as you'll see here, I got from Amazon. And so there's some safety precautions I gotta take. I'm gonna put down a drop cloth over the area that I sample. I got a complete full body coverall, disposable. I got a HEPA filter, half mass. I'm gonna actually scrape the ceiling material off with that, and I'm gonna catch it in these wet wipes to make sure that the material, once I scrape it, doesn't fly in the air. It just actually goes right into the wet wipes. And I'm gonna cover up the sample spots with some putty just to make sure that it doesn't fly out in the air once I'm finished. So I'm actually going to test two parts of this house. This part here where there's the kitchen, and then down there is the bathroom and the laundry area. This is a quote unquote new renovation part of the house. This was built in 1992. Over here is the original part of the house that was built in 1901. As you can see, they have the ugly popcorn ceilings as well. So I'm going to take multiple samples from different parts of both the original side of the house as well as the new addition side of the house. That way, if something comes back positive, I'll know whether or not it was the material that was used on the renovation side over here or on the original side. And the reason why I'm doing that is because if we have to hire a asbestos contractor to come and remove these popcorn ceilings safely, it's going to be expensive. And I would prefer to know if the asbestos test was on the renovation side or the original side, so that I don't have to pay them to abate the whole house. So we'll take samples from both sides. That way we'll know if it's positive, if it's the original side or the renovation side. So that's pretty much the game plan for today. I'm gonna get the safety stuff set up. There's plenty of videos out there for you to watch and see how this is actually done, but just please cross your fingers and hopefully we don't have asbestos in this house. All right, it's go time. I'm all safed up, masked up, HEPA filters, protective covering, eyeglasses. We're ready to go.
Water containing a few drops of washing up liquid. This will help suppress the dust that may be released into the air. Where relevant, be sure to penetrate any paint or protective coating and make sure you sample all layers of the material. Make sure that you capture the material being sampled on your knife or chisel, then use a wet wipe to remove it.
All right, so I'm all done taking the samples, and as you can see, I covered up the sample area with some putty just to make sure that if there is asbestos in there, it won't be further released from the spot where the sample came. So to shore that up for now, and all we do now is wait for the results.
There's no bestos in this house. 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 Yes. So obviously we got some great news from the lab results. The popcorn ceilings came back negative for asbestos, which means we don't have to worry about hiring a very expensive contractor to remove the ceilings. So great news there. Now, this does not mean that we get the license or green light to just go crazy with tear out and, sledgehammer in the ceilings and walls, kicking up a bunch of dust, because at the end of the day, we still don't know exactly what's behind these walls.
What is that?
And we want to be careful about the stuff that we're going to be breathing in. So we're still going to wear our respiratory mask with the particle filters, and we're still going to proceed with caution. But it's just nice to know that we don't have to worry about asbestos in the ceiling. Now, we are going to put some information in the description of this YouTube video for information about asbestos and information from the EPA about how to go about abating or removing it if it is in your house. Understand that asbestos is not necessarily just going to be in your popcorn ceilings. It could also be in your tile, and it could also be in some types of insulation. So please be careful if you are doing renovation work for an old house. This stuff is nothing to play with. Again, you don't want to breathe it in if you can avoid it. So but for us, we're ready for a demo now. We're ready to start tearing out some of these walls and ceilings and really getting an idea of what we're working at and what we're going to be looking at, I should say, in regards to this renovation. So stay tuned for that next video. See y'all later.
Click that subscribe button.